Ben Shapiro's publication, The Daily Wire, of course, a conservative publication, has produced a feature film, and it's called Run, Hide, Fight. And it's not doing so well with the critics. The reviews have not been good. So if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see that the critics have given it 22%, and the audience score is 94%. But the audience score, I mean, anyone can just say that they love the movie. And so, there's a possibility that his fans, logged in and said that they love the movie. There's also a possibility that there's a disconnect between what film critics feel and what the audience in general feels. Like there have been instances where there's like a movie I love, but the critics don't love it. And the viewers, normal people, average human beings like me, do love it. A good example is that one Will Ferrell movie that I just recently watched with Christian, the one where he's like in an independent basketball league. Well, what is that movie called again?
Oh, I forget. What is that one? Will Ferrell.
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro. Dude,
I loved it.
Yeah. You like semi-pro? I get it. That's exactly it. And I will say specifically with audience scores are out of 5, and Rotten Tomatoes scores are out of yes or no. It's binary. You like it or you don't. So most people, even if they don't like a movie, they'll give it 3 stars. They'll feel weird. So you're not factoring in any 0%. So there's that.
So, we're talking through all of the reasons why there might be this difference between how the critics felt and how the general audience felt. But no, Ben Shapiro goes to the immediate conspiracy theory of they don't like us because of our conservatism, and that's what's really going on. Now, I haven't watched the film, to be fair, but to give you a quick summary without giving you spoilers, I guess, if you're interested in watching it. The film follows a girl named Zoe as she uses her hunting and survival skills to stop an active shooter at her high school. So it's been described as like Die Hard, but the premise really centers on a school shooting. So obviously that's a super uncomfortable issue to discuss. And I do want to read a few of the critics, what they had to say. So for instance, Jessica Kiang writes in and says, so somebody somewhere one day had a thought, what if Die Hard except a school shooting? And not only didn't they immediately check themselves for other symptoms of lead poisoning, but thought, yep, that's the winner. One other critic, David Elric, writes in and says, it's hard to say what's more offensive, that Rankin is pissing into an overflowing reservoir of national pain, or that he's doing so poorly. Just kidding, it's not hard at all. By the way, I think did I mispronounce that guy's name, Rankin?
Rankin? I don't know, but that's Ehrlich. That's that other guy's name. I know you've never seen that name before, but his name is Ehrlich.
What did I say?
Elric.
I don't know why I did that.
They left in the original H. Some very benevolent, Ellis Island person was like, we'll leave it how you normally spelled it and not like rob the H from you like they did to many Jews.
Well, apologies for that. But there you have it. There's a few of the critics and what they had to say. Now let's go to Ben Shapiro and his discussion about this and what his theories are here.
I'm fully expecting that upon release of the film, there will be a second wave of critical hatred for the film, which is, again, one of the things that has happened, not just to your film, but it's happened to nearly any film these days that does anything that crosses the woke.
But I also think we're entering into probably an 8-year period of tribalism and people sort of going into their own corners. And I think that if people want to watch movies like this and continue to consume content that isn't preaching a message to them and jamming a sort of a secular worldview down their throats, then they have to support a conservative economy. I thought I was going to be, living in LA, running a movie studio by now. And here I am, in my own independent lane, but in a way I'm happier now than I ever would have been there. And I know those people. They're still my friends. They're unhappy. They're insecure. They're confused about the lockdowns and living in California under Gavin Newsom. They're confused about all this. They're moving to Texas. They're calling me. Even my sort of lovely liberal friends, and I'm encouraging them, get out. And it's across the board. If your company is pushing a critical race theory on you, get out of that company. If you're going to a college and your professor is pushing an agenda on you, speak up and push back.
Okay, a lot going on there. So, I mean, I don't know. I thought that at this point in my life, I was entitled to a gigantic mansion and 8 Ferraris. And look, it's all the conservatives' fault that I wasn't able to get all that. It's their fault. And also, we're entering an 8-year period of tribalism. Like, I don't know what world that guy lives in, but it would be nice to experience it. Like, it's some weird utopian fantasy world where like we haven't been engaging in like divisive tribalism. Like that's been this country for, I mean, well over a decade at this point.
Yeah, I know that guy. That's Dallas Sonye. I worked with him, and I know his wife real well. And I used to know his wife really well. She's great. And Dallas was always really nice to work with and super kind. It is strange that they're focusing on this. Whatever happened to him, I have no idea. And I know that he personally has been through a lot. Like both of his parents were murdered. You can watch the Dateline on it. He's been through a lot in terms of like dealing with, horrible, horrific crimes in his life. But what he said there is a ton of BS. When you look at some of the reporting that's happened surrounding specifically this movie and the production companies affiliated with it, there's all these allegations that in that movie, Film Daily reports that there were accusations that someone affiliated with the production of this movie raped a 16-year-old, and then as the allegations were circulating, the production company essentially distanced themselves from it and downplayed all those things. So it sounds to me like they're trying to, as they always do, push this strange narrative that it wasn't them. It isn't the quality of their work. It's all about other people making us the victims. And I hate to tell you, that dude, he was at the top of his game. Like that guy was a real legitimate producer working with A-list talent every single day. And something must have happened. And I just doubt you can say, listen, if you are a right-wing person, you can't make it in Hollywood. Like Clint Eastwood is that way. You see all these reports of Chris Pratt like having those values that don't necessarily jive with what Dallas is portraying as the prevailing sentiment in Los Angeles. And you can make it. What I find is hilarious about that take is it's very obvious to me what Ben Shapiro is doing with his film and this production company, which is essentially the same thing Kirk Cameron has been doing for a very long time with his films that are about like the rapture that shows up and all you Christians just come watch my film. It's the same as Christian music. You're just making a second mini industry to cater to a certain kind of person who isn't served elsewhere. This is what it is. It's a small little microeconomy they're trying to have. And so you can't take what they're saying as though they're saying it earnestly. This is all marketing for what, by all accounts, is a very bad film.
By the way, have you seen it? Not putting you on the spot. I'm just curious.
We can show the trailer. Here's some of the trailer.
I'm curious about
Aaron Eckhart. I can look that up, but it looks like Aaron Eckhart. And then these are an immersive sense. When the fewer words you see on screen from a review, that means it wasn't a good review.
Exactly.
But it is from what I see in the takeaway is it's a better movie than you think it's going to be. But Dallas is a legit producer, so.
Yeah, let me actually read one of the critics, Dominique Griffin, who wrote on Rotten Tomatoes, gave the film 3 out of 10, but actually was somewhat surprised in how entertaining the film was. So Dominic wrote this: while I found this film considerably less distasteful than I imagined I might be going in, it's still being released by some despicable people, and the film's underlying themes are gross. That said, more entertaining than one might assume. And so, look, I disagree with judging a movie. I don't know. I don't even know.
I'm with you.
Am I right in saying, yeah, like you shouldn't judge the movie based on the people behind. Like if it's an objectively good film, just say it's a good film. I mean, obviously he had some issues with the storyline, right? So he's not just 100% basing it on Ben Shapiro being, a questionable person. But yeah, I just don't even mention that in your critique, because I feel like when you do, it undermines whatever legitimate criticism you have,
So I used to host the Rotten Tomatoes show. So the way that it works is Rotten Tomatoes has top critics, and you'll see that a couple of the people we played earlier were top critics, like from Playlist, and then other critics who just make their way into the system. They'll give it their own rating, like 3 out of 10. But Rotten Tomatoes number is just a percentage of critics who liked the film. So if they like it, you get a fresh. If they didn't like it, you get a rotten. Then they average those all together. But in terms of like mentioning it, there's so much that you can mention in a write-up. And then the editors will go I don't know if it's the editors or that person who submits it, but people will sift through and pull like an operative quote to appear in a small little square. So in that, you can mention all that. That's fine. And it does go into the experience of watching it. And for a lot of people who have like their own film blog, it's their own personal experience of watching it. And you can get into like the fine print of like what it means to be a critic and what your criticism will be. And if you're like a classic film critic, but you can mention all that in your article so long as you are only mentioning your experience of watching the film and what makes it good or bad from a viewing perspective. And it seems like and the benefit of Rotten Tomatoes is it averages all those together. So one person saying, I don't like Ben Shapiro, doesn't spoil the reviews.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And also like the thing that I want to, like the main point that I want to make is just like, for all that we heard about like the millennial generation and like the participation trophy generation and like people, getting pats on the back, even though they didn't actually accomplish anything. Like we hear criticisms about that culture from people like Ben Shapiro all the time. In fact, he goes out of his way on a consistent basis to minimize the fact that not everyone is really on a level playing field, right? Some people are born in privileged situations where their family can afford, let's say, the tutoring necessary to ensure that they really ace the standardized testing to get into the private schools. And then you have people who are born into like extreme poverty, and clearly they're not on a level playing field. And when you try to have nuanced discussions about it, people like Ben Shapiro always undermine it, they belittle it, they minimize it. But then when it comes to Shapiro reflecting on his own body of work as a man in a place of extreme privilege, and I'm not saying that in regard to his race, I'm saying that in regard to the platform that he has and the funding that he gets from incredibly wealthy conservative donors, he's not on a level playing field. He has advantages that most people don't have, and he can't handle constructive criticism about his own film. In fact, instead of taking it, acknowledging it, maybe using it to improve his body of work moving forward, he automatically brushes it off as nothing more than anti-conservative bias. He's fantastic. He's done everything right. Everyone else is wrong. So F off. That's like the kind of, like culture that comes from people like Ben Shapiro, and it drives me crazy.
I do want to correct myself from earlier. It was not Aaron Eckhart. It's the other guy with that face, Thomas Jane, in the film. But you're absolutely right. Like, and it's all a grift. It's all, this is exactly what happened with Ben Shapiro. He wanted to be a movie writer, and it didn't work out. But he got to be the favorite son of those in corporate conservatism who didn't necessarily want to identify themselves with white supremacy, but were fine using it and wanted the smart kid who talks fast. And that's it.
Yep.
And wanted like a staunchly pro-Israel person, and they got that. And he's like a lot of the things on your like wish list if you're buying like, you know, a conservative pundit, he absolutely has them. And at his heart is I just want to make movies. I just want to make movies. That if I could have it my way, I would just go off and make movies. And he got to, and that unlimited budget or that limited budget, but unlimited by many other people's calculations, yields a film like this, apparently, which I really do want to see, because maybe it's fine. But
right.
But my takeaway from all of it is Ben Shapiro has been able to parlay his fast talking faux intellectualism into a multi-tiered OnlyFans. And that's what the Daily Wire is. It's like, oh, we got some free stuff you can see on my Instagram, but click my link in the bio and it'll take you to my frickin' exclusive nonfiction content that if you really love me, you'll really get off to. And it is, unfortunately, in the warped world of Ben Shapiro, people storming a school and shooting their way through the 9th grade or whatever it is. Like, it's crazy, but this is the insane world we live in. But my favorite thing is your takeaway from Dallas's point, where it's like, we're about to get into this very tribal moment here.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not even kidding. I would love to exist in whatever world he's been in for even like a day, just to know what it's like to be totally oblivious to how divisive things have been in this country for a while now.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.